while preserving their heritage, because the confidence should be built right from the younger ages. I already spoke about this slide. This is about the difference between language reclamation and language revitalization. I already mentioned that reclamation is a larger effort by a community to claim its right to speak a language and to set associated goals in response to community needs and perspectives. Revitalization, language revitalization, on the other hand, is driven by the crisis of language endangerment. It can be taken up by many people, a group of people involving academicians, language enthusiasts, language activists, and language lovers. And it has many connotations, socio-political, socio-cultural, and it also goes beyond whatever one can imagine. But both are very popular with the members of indigenous language communities, and this is going on with large efforts here. Alright, so when we talk about language revitalization, people always talk about revitalization, they give the example of Maori. The same with the Hebrew. Even before that, revitalization activities were done, but not on a large scale. Alright, revitalization is seen as something about issues of self-respect and empowerment, because you are reclaiming one's ethnic identity according to Craig. As many of you keep presenting slides, and most of us put this one, when identity is lost, everything is lost, because language is who I am, and that makes my identity. When I lose my language, I lose my culture, I basically lose everything. Now, what's the connection between language and culture and revitalization? Revitalization is not just about language, but also the culture of the community. Like I spoke about the Ruga community with only 2.5 speakers, many of the people who cannot speak Ruga in Rugapara said that we lost our language and are slowly losing our culture. Why is this happening? Because the elders did not pass on the essential wisdom of Ruga, culture, language, everything to the next generation. For more than 4 generations, it has not been done there. So they are slowly shifting to the dominant language and culture, which is Garo. That means we need to do so many workshops. One of them is cultural awareness, because it is undeniably critical for success in a language revitalization initiative. How can we do it? We have to work with the communities, identify their needs, and build a bridge between the language and cultural revitalization. I also propose culture therapies, because it's very important. Like, it has been done by many, but based on some ideas I found in Spindler 1999, I propose that this could be something what Northeast India can take up, because it can be seen as a means to improve cultural awareness, mainly on healing and well-being through culturally grounded practices, rituals and traditions, because these will certainly serve as a bridge for intergenerational knowledge transmission. Because when we talk about IGK, as I want to acronymize it, this is about empowering youth and the future generations, because if you feel low about your own culture, or if you feel low about your own language, you lose confidence to face the rest of the world. So it's very, very important people are introduced to this therapy, so that mental well-being of our younger generations are taken care of. And also, this can be done only with community solidarity, because it involves a strong sense of unity, shared values, and support among the community members. Community solidarity is, in fact, a cornerstone in preserving cultural heritage. We have to be together, only then we can achieve something. Winning the solidarity of community members is not an easy task. Also, another important term I wanted to introduce here is intergenerational solidarity. Why can't we think about it? Because this is the bond and mutual support between different age groups within a community, particularly between the younger and older generations. So if you do not have intergenerational solidarity, it's not possible to save a culture. Because in many cultures, even in the cultures of my language or my culture, we often sometimes see children telling mom or dad, oh please keep quiet, you don't know this. The children tell the parents, you don't know this, they know better. So solidarity is not there, or the parents do not do that. They feel, okay, I want to send my child to, yes, of course, all parents want to send children to better schools, to see that they are well placed socioeconomically. That is why in the UNESCO Chair of Language Policies and Multilingualism, do it side by side. It's not easy. It's easy for me to say, but to put it into practice, it's difficult. But we definitely need community solidarity and intergenerational solidarity so that we can see that cultural revitalization can take place, which will help communities revive and strengthen mainly their cultural identity. One more important thing, because whenever we document languages or cultures, let us not forget every community has something called indigenous community control. What is this? It is the self-determination and autonomy of indigenous communities in making decisions about their cultural and natural resources. They are the custodians, they are the keepers of the language and the custodians of the culture or cultures. So this must be respected and sincerely clasped in the negotiation, and thereby we will take care of the linguistic diverse policies and other planning activities, consultation, etc. Because we have to respect their linguistic rights and guarantee collaborations with them for protection and preservation. More to come is cultural sovereignty, because here indigenous community control empowers communities to maintain cultural sovereignty by determining how their traditional knowledge is managed, used and shared. How are they using it? How much they can share? How much is kept as a secret? What happens to this secret knowledge which only the community knows? For example, in performing some important rituals, what happens after that particular group of people pass away? Does that knowledge disappear? So unless they pass it down to the next generation, which many of them do, of course, in many important rituals, but not all rituals are being done in that way. So it's important to do that. But somebody has control over it, so that there can be two types of documentation. Documentation for the public use and documentation which can be only for community purposes, and that too, if you have secret knowledge, that can be documented and preserved only by that small group of people who are custodians of that precious knowledge of their cultures or their tribes. It's important to do that, because otherwise, as you know, if you are not safeguarding that, misappropriation and misuse can happen. And fostering intergenerational solidarity will definitely allow elders to actively participate in decision making and knowledge transmission processes. Now I want to do some reality checks. There are many demands from communities. Even when we came here, many of you approached even us asking, how can you help? We are ready to help you in many ways. But what is happening now? The people who are doing multifunctional documentation, you can see on this slide, there are people work on different aspects. We do some kind of questionnaire data, then picture prompt data, audio data, video data. There are storytelling, so many things. We are using, when we say questionnaires, we oftentimes use some standard word list with us, or you prepare a word list and use that elicit data. And most of the times these are not representing or depicting the culture you are interacting with. For example, I want to talk about Jainism or Jain Kasha from Kasi language. You will not find that listed under the garments women wear. So you have to use that only as a guide, and then you have to add culturally specific items. Audio data, video data, people do elicit words, basically translations. Tell me what's the word for hibiscus. Tell me what's the word for apple or pear or something like that. So most of the times you have the knowledge of your language or your culture or the dominant culture, and you're trying to elicit data. Of course you need them, I'm not saying don't do that, but it is important to tap the indigenous knowledge. And how am I going to do it, or how are we doing it from CIL and other places? I'll show you how we do. Of course people also do video annotations, video documentation, etc. So when it comes, there are two types of collaborative efforts happening. One is the community-led initiative. The community comes to us and they demand the autonomy to lead, and they tell us what they want, how they want us to do something which will help us for intergenerational, or developing some primers and telling them use it. They wanted to see that, okay, this is culturally relevant for us, and let us use this to educate our kids, and they demand such programs which kind of inter-community collaboration. How much attention is paid to indigenous systems with a goal of intergenerational knowledge transmission? I must say that I'm sorry to say, and I must say that very less is done from the point of view of intergenerational knowledge transmission, because most of the field workers just select 3 or 4 people. You must select people from 3 generations, at least 2 generations if possible, so that you can document as much as possible and you gather as much as knowledge as possible. That's several semantic domains. So some of you, like my colleague Vicham is here, who was part of it in CIL during the initial stages of the preparation of this book. This is just a guide. It does not have elements which will cover all cultures in India. Therefore, I recommend use that as a guide and also prepare culturally specific word lists. That will help us to elicit words. And when we are eliciting words, we have to get a network of words. So what is this? This is just a necklace for me, but you may have a name. And what is this? This is a card. So you are having different layers of meaning to it. It's a necklace. So what is that? It's an ornament. And what's an ornament? What is that? So you have a hierarchy of relations. With one item or one object, I'll be able to get 10 words. There are beats, there are strings in it, quite a number of things. So you have to always elicit like that and just not go by what is the word for X and what is the word for Y. And suppose somebody gives me coffee and they ask me, do you want it hot or cold, or like Clemshini in Kasi? So Clemshini, yes, Kasau, Clemshini. So then we say, okay, so you have, how do you want it? Cold. Then immediately I ask, okay, I want hot coffee, but what's the word for cold coffee? So that's how we elicit and make a network of words. So picture prompts are very important because a picture speaks more than 1,000 words, right? So these are some of the pictures we clicked. Of course, one of them is familiar to you. I just clicked it in Kohima 2 days back. The Jor, you can see that. So the other picture is a ritual practice of Athang community. So if you see this picture, you know nothing about it. You must know what are these elements, because you have to see what are these and what do they signify. There's a lot of knowledge embedded here. And what are they doing here in this Athang community? So you need to, you can click as many, you can make a picture album, go to a village, spend 7 days and make beautiful pictures of the natural surroundings there. Now you have digital albums, have it on your laptop, and then talk about that with the people and elicit as much knowledge as possible. It's not possible going and doing it without that, because, and randomly also you can click, of course, when you come across new pictures and new things around you. That's how we learn. Curiosity is the mother of invention, right? So that way we need to be curious about everything around us. Here are some more pictures of Athang community. So you can see 3 men enjoying their rice beer and how happy they are, and that they're probably sitting at the end of the day and having some conversation. There are a lot of objects in this picture, and you can talk about how do they make the rice beer, or what are they doing, what is that part, and what kind of things they do. Likewise, other picture about the tree house, and you have Jodpi, a fishing material, and men at work. How do they work? What kind of knowledge sharing takes place here? More pictures. These are also from Meghalaya. Meghalaya, like the rest of Northeast India, uses baskets for various purposes. One of them is shown here as for storing the vessels that are clean. You also use baskets for carrying child or carrying vegetables, many more things. And also you can see a man at work. So in a natural setting, what is he doing and different actions, and is this his occupation or is it he doing for a living, and what was his traditional occupation? You can start up a story with one picture and learn more. Here's another interesting picture. This is from Lingam community. Lingam is one of the Khasian languages spoken in Meghalaya in West Khasi Hills. This picture where you see wood is stored, I think this is a common picture all over Northeast India. But the other one is interesting from a different perspective. This is how people are classifying or counting things when you in a market, in a local market. There are different routes here. Like it's just, you cannot say it's a heap of ginger or what. In English, there's no special term for this, measure terms. So in their languages, how do they do it and what are these? You can talk about it. And here are the most beautiful brooms, I must say, from this region. Whenever I go to Meghalaya, I pick one or two of these brooms with me because they are the best ones I have ever seen. So there is a community which does that, and of course you find them in many places in Meghalaya. And here's a picture I clicked again in, I think it was in that village where your Hornbill festival takes place. So where we went, the Kisama village. So interesting to see what is hung here in front of the door, and each of them will have their own significance. Why is it hung like that? Why is there is a skull of an ape there? What does it signify? So many things to ask and pass on that knowledge, not just to ask, pass on that knowledge to the next generation. And also, we can also undertake dialect surveys, because here in many rituals, communities, this is a community, Lamkang community from Manipur. Here, after they completed a dance ritual, they just gave us a post. This picture was clicked by my colleague in CIL. Here, through some kind of language surveys, you will be able to elicit words and know more about the culture, about their activities, archaic words, and words which are not generally used in their day-to-day life, but they are culturally important. It is very, very important because it's not possible to find them when you are doing data elicitation with a word list. Active elicitation is another technique we must do, because we will ask people to sit in a group, maybe over a bonfire or something, and maybe enjoy their hospitality or have a drink with them or eat with them. And then during that time, we can have spontaneous recall vocabulary. Just open up some conversations and ask them, can you tell me the names of the plants you grow in your garden? Instead of asking what's the name for paddy or what's the name for hibiscus, you can ask them, or how to make a particular dish. It's not just about what they know, you can also ask about different types of laughters or other things. So many ways. How do you, like their whistling sounds you saw, different ways of naming, like that, do you have different ways of laughter, etc. Elicitation from media resources is also very important, because media can function at various levels. That is why many of our friends, especially Hezekiel, he's every time emphasizing on the creation of community radio stations, and maybe in future they also want to do television shows. This is from UNESCO New Delhi. They have some proposals to create community radio stations, and I'm going to be involved in it in Shillong. So maybe after Shillong is going to be the starting point for that, and maybe it will come to other parts of Northeast India very soon. I think it's going to be in the first week of December. The dates are not yet fixed. So, because we feel like this is mainly for awareness. In many parts of the world during COVID times, community radios played a vital role. So, Hezekiel and his team want to do that for Northeast India. Because this media will certainly provide opportunities for the voices unheard, because there are many voices that are unheard in the Northeast. That way, radio will have some place for the people to have a say in the language they speak and understand. And also we can create a lot of digital language resources. Like I said before, this will lead to language empowerment, which in turn will lead to people empowerment. Of course, the more the merrier. I can go on, but I'm going to cut short now and try to come to my last part of the talk. Here we are saying that we have to make or document and you create language and cultural resources. For many people, my first priority is for community. Then comes academic purpose and other, like you can have community alone also uses. There are many users of these resources because we are documenting for what? To preserve someone's language or culture which is dear and near to them. So it's better we keep it near to materials. I'm just going to skip all these things, and of course we have a variety of household objects. Music and dance is part of the culture here. There are several challenges for documenting my talk. I must emphasize what everyone is telling. Construct websites for the linguistic families and subfamilies of the region and facilitate the upload of multimedia information.
Can the AV crew please come and assist with the mics?
Thank you. They know us by Mickey Ree. And I think there's a story behind his name, why Nagas prefer to call us Mickey Ree. Because it has completely, it was a history written some 100 years ago. So I'm not pointing out somebody for having written such a very negative thing relating to Mikir. So when we talk about orality, I think in spite of so much of neglect on something like that. Okay, a book which was produced by the Highlander Institute, and then I wrote an article about Kacharhia Lun, which is oral funerary. Michael Hennis is an American. He married a Naga lady. I think some of you might have met him or know him. Now he is in Norway. In Tromsø, we are in contact. So we decided to document this Kacharhia Lun, because Kacharhia Lun is sung over 30 hours non-stop. Can you imagine 30 hours non-stop? And a person who is performing has never gone to school, doesn't know anything about literacy. So we, as insiders, we never were quite excited why somebody has to be so important, sometimes for days. So now, how a song is sung 30 hours non-stop, no such instance exists anywhere in Northeast India. I don't know if there is any. I'll be very documenting in perpetuating our oral tradition. You cannot just somebody call